Good morning, honorable guests. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have the pleasure to welcome you to the final plenary session of the Cairo Water Week this year on climate-smart communities, especially with the context of planning and legislation. Planning and legislation for climate-smart communities is crucial to proactively address the impacts of climate change in urban areas. Urban resilience is important to address these impacts that are kind of coming towards the urban areas, kind of putting pressure on land use, on human migration, on job dynamics, and not to forget food security. The aim of the session is to provide some interesting presentation and a comprehensive platform to discuss developing strategies to integrate climate resilience into urban planning and legislative framework, as policy are the cornerstone of making climate resilience a success. I'm excited to kind of introduce to you a full panel of people today. We will have speeches and presentation, and afterwards, hopefully some time for discussion and questions. I would like to welcome our speakers. We have here in the first seat Professor Herbert Nacken from the University of Aachen in Germany. Next to him, we have Professor Mohammed Abdelhamid Dawood, from a senior water advisor at the Environmental Agency in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. After that, the Honorable Karl Herman Schledwein, the Minister of Finance of Namibia. At the moment, we are still missing, hopefully joining us later, Minister Maya. And then we have Dr. Rania Hedaya, the Acting Regional Director for the Arab States of the UN Habitat. And last but not least, on the other side of the chairs, from my side, is Dr. Amos Zabahi, Director of Agriculture at SECAM. I think you had no time to read the bios in that speed I was talking, but that will come back when the people have their speeches. May I invite Professor Nacken to give the first speech of the day.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm very pleased to be here and honored to give my presentation in this very last session of the prestigious Cairo Water Week. And the presentation is going to be on the role of virtual reality. You might wonder what this is going to do with smart cities. You will find within some minutes. But please let me start with some dear words from my colleague in Aachen. The Vice Director of Internationalization would like to give you her feedback.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. للأسف لم أتمكن أن أكون في القاهرة معكم اليوم، ومع ذلك وبدعم من البروفيسور ناكن تمكن من الترتيب للترحيب بكم من خلال نسختي الافتراضية. أود أن أرحب ترحيباً حاراً جداً بزميلي البروفيسور هاني سويلم، الأستاذ في قسم الهيدرولوجيا الهندسية بكلية الهندسة المدنية بجامعة آخن بألمانيا، والذي يشغل حالياً منصب وزير الموارد المائية والري في مصر. كما أود أن أشكركم جزيل الشكر على إتاحة الفرصة لي للتحدث في أسبوع القاهرة السابع للمياه بصفتي نائب رئيس جامعة آخن للتعاون الدولي. يسعدنا في جامعة آخن أن يكون لدينا مثل هذا الارتباط الوثيق بمصر من خلال تواصلنا مع معالي الوزير سويلم، وهو ما ينعكس في الأنشطة المختلفة التي تقوم بها جامعة آخن في مصر خاصة وفي القارة الإفريقية عامة. في إطار استراتيجية التميز لجامعتنا تحت شعار المعرفة، الأثر، الشراكات، تؤكد جامعة آخن دائماً على أهمية البحث العلمي والشراكات الدولية في خلق المعرفة، والتي لها أثر بالغ على مجتمعاتنا. لذلك تسعى جامعتنا دائماً إلى التعاون مع شبكة من شركائنا الوطنيين والدوليين إيجاد حلول علمية شاملة تراعي الأبعاد المختلفة للتحديات الحالية والمستقبلية. ولهذا السبب أعتقد أن مؤتمرات مثل أسبوع القاهرة للمياه في غاية الأهمية، فهو يجمع بين الخبراء لمناقشة أحد أهم مواردنا، فمن خلال المناقشات والبحوث المكثفة حول موضوع المياه يمكننا أن نقدم مساهمة مهمة في واحد من أكبر التحديات التي نواجهها حالياً، تغير المناخ. وأود أن أشكركم جميعاً على اهتمامكم لدراسة ومناقشة هذا الموضوع الهام بشكل علمي متحضر. إن هذا الاهتمام يمكننا من إيجاد حلول للوفاء بمسؤوليتنا المشتركة للحفاظ على كوكبنا. أتمنى أن تستمتعوا جميعاً بهذا الحدث الهام وبمحتواه التطلعي ومناقشاته الفعالة، وأن ننتهز هذه الفرصة لتوسيع شبكة علاقاتنا. أشكركم على حسن الاستماع. ملاحظة: تم إنشاء هذا الفيديو بمساعدة الذكاء الاصطناعي.
Okay, now let's dive into the topic. It's about smart cities. And I'm just giving you some information back that I found on the websites of your national ministries. So they are telling that you are going to be the source of sustainable management within the Middle East. That's what you would like to achieve in the near future. And with that, you have the so-called fourth generation of cities in Egypt all over the country. And as being a German, just let me express you that I'm totally overwhelmed when I drive through Cairo and I see all these constructions being built. And just imagine how many people are going to live in these specific areas. So that is, let's say, a kind of a dimension that we are totally unaware of in Europe, especially unaware of in Germany. And with that, the smart cities, they should pay into SDGs, like you know, SDG number 6, water, SDG number 7 on energy, but also on industry and sustainable cities. And again, the figures that are pretty much amazing for us in Europe are these billions that you are putting into these projects, the number of projects that you're planning and implementing and operating later on, plus the amount of money that you put into a sustainable future is really overwhelming. And we don't see this in Europe, to be honest. So one part of that, coming back, because I'm a hydrologist, I'm engineering hydrologist at the university in Aachen, is, okay, how to support these cities with water. If you just have like 30 millimeters of precipitation all over in Egypt, and you have millions of inhabitants, that's not going to go. So you have to go into desalination, and like you see, there are, at present, 11 coastal governorates that are going to invest into desalination. So to really pinpoint it, I would say, is there one single topic that we have to focus and which is going to be the driver for all that? I would say yes, it's the growth of your population. And if you have a look at the slide, in 1950, it were around about 20 millions. And in 2050, so 100 years later, it's going to be 151 million. So the number of population increased more than 7 times in 100 years, something you don't see anywhere else worldwide. And what does it mean? We as engineers, you as engineers, we can't go on like we did before because there are new challenges coming up and we have to find new solutions for that. And the question is, how can we manage the needed changes that all of us know that do exist, but maybe we are not aware of how to solve it? And me personally, I also can't tell you how to solve them, but I can say there's one single thing which is crucial, and that's education and training. Because unless you don't have educated people, I'm not talking about kids at school, but in general, educated societies, if you don't have trained personnel, you know you're going nowhere. That's for sure the situation. And now we can say, how can we educate and train people? I'm just giving you an example with His Dear Excellency sitting in front of the row. you see him in a virtual reality scenario. And in this virtual reality scenario, each and every one of you could jump into it. And like you can see, His Excellency is explaining the desalination plant. So he's explaining about the pre-treatment that is going to be organized over there. Then he's going to go on what he did with his students, not with experts like you. So he's explaining about the reverse osmosis systems, how they are going to operate. And then he goes on. So there's a kind of a virtual tour so that you have an immersive situation of how things are going to be done. Once he gets up to the tower, then he can showcase how to operate things. So you have energy, you have water, you have agriculture. If you switch your parameters, for example, the size of the PV area is going to change, increase, decrease. And on the other side, you're going to see the consequences for the agricultural area, which is going to increase or decrease. This is a pretty simple, sorry to say, model of how to simulate it, but it gives a pretty good impressions for students what desalination is all about. And you can also find out, for example, the issue of brine that we're facing. You know, 1 liter of fresh water is going to bring you 1.6 liter of brine, how to handle it. By the end of his cruise, His Excellency is going to jump into a 360-degree scenario. And then he can also show it, okay, how does it look like in real world? And these are pictures taken from the American University of Cairo, AUC, and we had a joint partnership with them in a very nice project. So you see what it's all about. It's about joining up people from places scattered all over the world and joining in a scenario. I like being here in Cairo, to be sure. But if we have to focus on sustainable development, if we have to be energy safe by whatever year in the future, we have to get rid of traveling and go places and go crisscross. So our idea is we would like to offer these virtual reality scenarios. And why? What are the advantages of these scenarios? First of all, it is proven that those who are using this, they are going to have a more immersive learning option, and they will have an increased motivation. And you know what motivation means. If you don't have people who are motivated, you're going to go nowhere. So you have to motivate people, you have to train them, you have to give them a sense where to go to, why to go to. And VR is an appropriate measure for that. Second, it is going to be more attractive than just sitting in front of a computer, have a plain two-dimensional, maybe video. Okay, that's nice, but in this VR scenario, you can interact. You can ask His Excellency, oh, I didn't understand, and he's going to give you a feedback on what they maybe missed. So the interaction is way more engaging. It is proven that within VR, you can acquaint complex and also practical skills. So it is for sure going to be a good method to train all the members in your team to do specific things. And the one thing is you can do it whenever you are. You wouldn't have to fly into Cairo. You're going to be situated in your hometown. As long as you do have a connection to the Wi-Fi and have some VR headsets, okay, that's fine. And that's, from my side, the most important thing. Using VR means you don't have to travel. Traveling time is reduced. Traveling cost is reduced. And our CO2 budget is way better than flying into Cairo and out, sorry to say. So if you will have the option to use it, you might now wonder, okay, that's nice, but what do we have to do with that? And I now would like to come back to the start of the presentation of our President in Internationalization Strategy. What my institution is offering in this international strategy is this software that you have just seen is open source, can be used by everyone. The scenarios that we developed are labeled as an educational resource in the sense of UNESCO, because you are a UNESCO chair. And last but not least, we're also giving you a server, a dedicated server, to use this. The only thing you need is a headset. So everything is for free. Anyone, either individual, even commercial, or you may use this software. And I can only tell you that by 11 o'clock, In Louvre Hall number 5, a member of my team is going to give more details on this project. Maybe Mr. Bakawi, you can stand up for a second, please, and so that we have visual matching. Once you see that person, you're in the right corner. If you would like to get to know more about that, feel free to use the information on the website. And with that, I'm within the time limit of like 10 minutes. Thanks for your attention. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Professor Nacken. We start off with education as being the key to building resilience, and we are kind of diving now further into the topic of climate-smart communities, and I would like to invite Honorable Karl-Hermann Schlettwein, the Minister of Finance of Namibia, for a speech. Do you want to stay there, or do you want to come up here?
Thank you very much. First of all, I must correct something. I was the Minister of Finance. I am now the Minister of Life. That means water, agriculture, land reform. But I had fun in finance. I have more fun now. The topic that we were asked to address is a very complex and cross-sectoral one. And what I will try is to share briefly our experience in Namibia, where we have problems and how we try to maneuver through these problems and how we are doing it. And it's structured along the lines of water, its legislation, its planning, and how communities are involved. Now, first, I think we have to briefly give you the governance structure of Namibia. We are a unitary state with a central government that determines the national budget. Then we have got a secondary level, which is a regional authority. It's a regional council. That's the second house of the parliament that has a review function. And then we have local authorities and traditional authorities. So there are 4 layers of legislative or administrative layers. Now, the central government ministries that are involved in the process of planning, legislation, and governance are, of course, the Ministry of Agriculture, Water, and Land Reform, the Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or in our case, International Cooperation. So and the National Planning Commission, which is having the constitutional mandate of planning. So it's a number of institutions that have a say in how we manage water, and that is a difficulty in itself, because each ministry has a set of legislations they must follow, and it is sometimes difficult to see which legislation overrides in what case. I can give you an example to illustrate this. The Ministry of Agriculture, Water and Land Reform is having the mandate to administer the Water Resource Management Act. That act is a relatively modern act, which basically, it does many things, but in terms of resource management, it has the mandate to explore resources, utilize them, issue permits for private sector if they use water, develop the infrastructure, the bulk infrastructure, and its source management functions are basically that anyone who wants to drill a borehole, build a dam, abstract water from a surface water source like a lake or a a river must have a permit. And the permit may have certain conditions to avoid overutilization, pollution, and so on. Now, the conflict arises when, for instance, a prospective mine goes to the Ministry of Mines and Energy and asks for a mining license or an exploration license. It will be granted. The mining entity will start drilling boreholes without having the permission of the Ministry of Water to drill boreholes through an aquifer. It's a problem. The second problem is that the Ministry of Environment and Tourism, for instance, has a mandate that any large infrastructure project must be receiving a certificate of environmental impact, but they have no mandate to and no capacity to look into the water resource matters. So often environmental impact assessment and clearance certificates are given without proper consideration of the water aspects, and that is especially true with groundwater. They can't see and have the knowledge what is happening underground, and therefore a legal conundrum exists where the miner legitimately says, I have the same government given me a permission to explore, but then the same government is now turning around and says, no, you can't, I must first give you a permit, or I will block your mining operations because it has a negative impact on water. So I hope you understand there are these very obvious conundrums. Now, if we go along the central government, regional government, local authority, and traditional authority ladder, the central government administers the Water Resource Act, and it administers the budget. The budget is the only source for regional and local and regional authorities. And local authorities have their own mandate to generate revenue. Central government is responsible for resource exploration, management, and the bulk water infrastructure, which is done through a utility that reports to the ministry, NumWater. The municipalities or local authorities are responsible for distributing the bulk water that arrived at their doorstep. And local authorities or traditional authorities have the user rights for water in communal land, which is not having freehold title or property rights per se. It's a commonage that they manage. Again, you will see that there are complications, especially in rural water supply. Where do you draw the line between a village being a local authority or a community that needs water directly from the bulk water supplier? We have tried to straddle that by giving the mandate to our utility to also get involved in rural water supply, so that they are not limited in only bulk water supply, but rural water supply. A problem that we have managed or that we have encountered here is that some regional and traditional authorities have the desire to own the water resources that are within their area. But as a dry country, we are forced to utilize trans-basin water transfer methods to satisfy the demand in density in our big capitals and in very dry areas. So we have sometimes competing interests between local, regional, and central government authorities that is not regulated to all satisfaction. It is regulated, and the regulation is simple. It's central government that can decide that. But it is, of course, not a matter that is very much appreciated by some traditional authorities or some regional authorities, because I believe they can sell the resource to us if we need it. But that does not work with water, because water is a common good. Everyone has the right to use that water, and everyone therefore must assist in satisfying the demand wherever it is. What we are doing is we have developed an integrated water supply system, the bulk system. The intention is that we are able to supply any demand from any developed resource that we have. That is to bring about resilience in the sector and to assure the safety of supply. Now, lastly, there is, of course, the transboundary element. We have the only perennial rivers of Namibia are at the borders. We have 5 water management commissions. Starting from the west, it's the Kunene River. We have a Kunene River Basin Commission with Angola. We have the Kuvalai system with Angola. Then we have the Okacom Commission that regulates the Kabango River. It's Botswana, Angola, and we. Then we have got Zamcom, that's the Zambezi Water Commission, 8 members. Then we have the Stampriet Aquifer Commission. It falls together with the Orange River because it's the same countries. So it's the Orascom, South Africa, Namibia, and Botswana. Now, with transboundary waters, I think our take is that the only way we can solve competing interest in transboundary water resources is to join legally binding instruments. We have the SADC protocol on transboundary waters, and we have of course, the UN Water Convention on Transboundary Rivers. We have joined, and we entice all our neighbors to do the same, so that we have a binding set of rules through which we can decide who gets what out of a transboundary resource. That's the only way we believe we can avoid conflict and we can assure sustainable resource management. It's a complicated topic. I am sure that there are many details that I have left out that I would have loved to share, but I hope I could give you a broad overview of what the challenges are and what still needs to be done. On the legislative front, of course, we are trying to streamline and align laws, but it is not easy. A whole new area came in, and that is the green and climate-sensitive management. We are in green hydrogen. We believe there is a separate piece of legislation needed that is dealing with that, and we are not yet sure whether it is a water matter, because the basic source is water, or whether the basic source is energy that is from alternative sources. So the jurisdiction is difficult. We have for now managed that by creating a council of cabinet ministers, interested stakeholders that manage that difficult process. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister Schlettwein. Yeah, it goes to show that integration is so important and so complicated at the same time, and that's both horizontal integration between the different ministries as well as vertical, kind of from the national level all the way to the local level, because even if mandates are clear, there may be overlaps and it's challenging. I would please remind you to keep your questions and maybe write them down, so we have in the end some time to hopefully ask some questions, while I first would like to give the words to the speaker. I would like to invite now Ms. Rania Hedaya, the Acting Regional Director for Arab States of the UN Habitat, to give us her presentation or speech.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, partners, and dear colleagues. It is really a privilege and an honor to be with you, to join you today. It's not clear. Okay. It is an honor to be with you today and to join you in this session titled Climate Smart Communities Planning and Legislation, a very important topic that in relation to the context that we live in today. Being mandated to work in the Arab region, I will focus more or less on the Arab region. The Arab region is urban and also being mandated. UN Habitat is one of the UN organizations that is mandated to work on sustainable urbanization, and that leads on the SDG 11 that focuses on cities. The Arab region is urbanizing and urbanizing quickly. Currently, in the Arab region, 60% of the population live in cities or in urban context. And this figure is expected to rise to reach 75% by the year 2050. However, unfortunately, this rapid urbanization coincides with severe climate challenges, including, for example, the rising temperature that we all see and live and encounter, the droughts, and the sea level rise. Also contributing in the region, although we contribute to less than 5% of the global greenhouse emissions, the region is highly affected and is highly vulnerable due to its two climate issues, due to its water scarcity and fragile ecosystem. In this context, it shows how important planning for climate-smart communities is necessary. By integrating climate resilience into urban planning, we can protect the vulnerable population, we can improve infrastructure and protect the existing infrastructure, and ensure that our cities perform well and thrive despite the negative challenges of the environment. I will try to highlight how UN Habitat and its partners are driving this transformation or trying to support governments at the central level and at the local level through innovative solutions focused on sustainability, resilience, and inclusivity when it comes to issues that relate to climate resilience. And before I do that, I just want to mention some figures to give some highlights of the urban context in the Arab region. In the Arab region, over 81 million people live in informal areas, and of course we know what that means. It means lacking services, lacking infrastructure, and lacking a good quality of life. The region also faces extreme water scarcity, holding only 1.4% of the world's renewable freshwater resources, a big challenge when it comes to cities and urban contexts and to rural contexts, of course. The urban population are increasingly exposed to climate risks. We all saw what's happening in the region in terms of floods, rising temperature, storms. We saw what's happening in the Gulf, Libya, Morocco, challenges that we in the Arab region and our cities in the Arab regions are not necessarily used to face. But this is happening lately, and we need to work with our city leaders to ensure that they can face and that can be resilient despite these challenges. One major also challenge that we face is the conflict that faces the Arab region and that has extremely negative impact on infrastructure destruction and damage to the housing stock and economic losses. In response to these urban challenges, UN Habitat seeks to address them through the Strategic Plan 2020 to 2025, which includes 4 pillars. aimed to achieving sustainable urbanization and improving the quality of life for all. Two of these pillars are primarily focusing on adapting to and mitigating climate change, as well as addressing and effectively responding to various crises in a sustainable manner. The notion of building back better. Our response takes several forms, including, just to highlight a few, integrating urban aspects into national adaptation plans, and into national determined contributions, NDCs, and into national climate policies. Incorporating also incorporated climate change into local development plans and national urban policies. Conducting, of course, studies to assess the climate vulnerability and risks in cities, building communities' resilience to climate change, and embedding climate resilient infrastructure. Supporting evidence-based sustainable development policies in conflict-affected cities, and improving access to urban data and information, and supporting sustainable recovery from cities and promoting the notion and the idea of building back better. Among our key areas of activity is improving water management and ensuring access to clean drinking water in the context of increasing the increasing climate risks. Our efforts include reducing water consumption and expanding non-conventional water resources, supporting reconstruction in conflict-affected cities, implementing nature-based solutions for water challenges, such as the riverbank filtration technology that we were able to introduce to Egypt and that is expanding. We're very happy to see that it's being scaled up at the national level, and also working on innovative solutions for sanitation for the vulnerable communities. At the regional level, our climate change strategy for the Arab region 2022-25 targets local climate action across 6 areas, including water security, urban resilience, and sustainable energy. Our adaptation project in Lebanon and in Jordan is a very good example of our current activities that focuses on increasing resilience to water scarcity among the displaced people and host communities, aiming to benefit more than 120,000 individuals. This important project is being implemented in in Jordan and in Lebanon in partnership with ESCWA and UNICEF, and in partnership with several national and local partners to demonstrate concrete adaptation measures to address water scarcity and respond to the needs of the displaced people and the host communities, especially women and youth. UN Habitat also, activities of UN Habitat are guided by a long history of accumulative knowledge and tools. So we do have our internal guidelines and tools that we resort to when we try to give support to national stakeholders in the region. These vital guidelines aim to enhance climate responsive planning and to be available for all as a global resource. Just to give a couple of examples, the toolkit for law and climate change and the guidance for developing local climate change plans and national adaptation plans. These are all in-house tools and guidelines for UN Habitat, and they're open source. They are an open source for all, among a multitude of other tools and normative products that have been developed and used widely at the global level. In closing and in conclusion, the need for climate-smart communities planning and legislation is urgent. Integrating climate resilience into urban frameworks is essential for the well-being of our population. UN Habitat is committed to driving innovative solutions that empower communities, enhance infrastructure, and safeguard our environment. But we cannot, of course, do it alone. We work with governments, we work with national stakeholders, civil societies, even private sector. Together, we can build cities that not only withstand the impacts of climate change, but also thrive and perform better and respond better to their citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rania, on your insight on urban planning and kind of the necessary innovation, decisions, and guidance that is needed to kind of bring urban planning up to scratch, to integrate it all the way from the national level, again, to the local level, because with the growing population in the city, that will be essential to be climate resilient. I'm seeing an empty chair, so I assume we have at the moment kind of no contribution from the Ministry of Social Solidarity. So therefore I would like to proceed with Professor Mohammed Abdelhamid Dawood from the UAE. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good morning. One of the big challenges in our Arab region is to improve the water, food, energy nexus, because food production is interlinked to water, and pumping water, and even so producing water, is interlinked to energy consumption. And the energy consumption means more carbon footprint, more green gas emissions, and more impact on the greenhouses. So how we can improve this situation while we are trying to plan for climate smart communities in our region? This will be our topic today. If we are speaking about facts, we are speaking about huge area with about 13 million kilometers of square meter, and we have a population of about 423. It's expected to reach about 520 by 2030, and it will be jumped to more than 600 million by 2050. And we have the self-sufficient food ratio is less than 40%. So we are importing about more than 60% of our food production from the neighboring countries, which will be affected by the stability of food supply chains and also by the international food prices. How we can save food, how we can improve our water use efficiency, and how we can improve the climate change impacts on the water and agriculture sector. This will be the biggest challenge for us in the future. 70% of our water resources, especially surface water resources, is coming from outside the Arab region, and we have some conflict and debate between the Iberian countries shared us in these resources. And we are always the downstream countries, and we have this debate with the upstream countries about the decline in the precipitation every year and the change in the climate in the precipitation every year, indicating that we started to face some challenging regarding the impact of the climate change and the precipitation and the stream events within our region. And also the decline in the per capita water use year after year, and we reached now the most less than 500, which is a severe pressure globally. Actually, the poverty line is 1,000, and we are far below the 1,000 in our region. Even in some countries, we are below 100 cubic meter per capita per year in terms of renewable and freshwater resources availability, which is far below the poverty line. The population is jumping, as I mentioned before, and increasing year after year, and we need more food, we need more water, we need more settlements areas, and we need. And meanwhile, we are deteriorating the nature water resources. We are depleting the groundwater aquifer system. We are deteriorating the quality of the surface water. This is showing the United Arab Emirates University as an example, showing that we don't have now any freshwater resources availability in the groundwater. It's fully depleted. And even we have some groundwater storage, which is more than double of the seawater, of the ambient seawater. How I can in the future use such water for food productivity or for food production? This is a challenge. And as I mentioned, we have a very severe interlinkage between the food, energy, and water. How I can improve this? How I can improve the communities' resilience to the climate change impacts in the future? is either to use new technology, or either to use new alternative water resources, or either to produce more crops per each drop. But unfortunately, up to date, our self-sufficient ratio of food is far below what we are targeting. We are importing about 60%, and even in some countries like GCC countries, they are importing 85% of their food. And the bill is very huge bill, which cannot be afforded by the low-income countries in our region. In Egypt, we are importing about 60% of our strategic cereals, like maize, wheat, and others. And even for the oil production, we are importing about 95% or 98% in some statistics. How we can improve the situation in the future? The land degradation also, and the impact on the soil degradation and the availability of the land also is a big challenge for us. And at present, we can see the projected cost for food imports in our region. It's expected to be $150 billion by 2050. It is a huge investment needed to import food in the future. It is need a big bill, and actually we are showing that the low-income country in our region cannot afford for this. How we can improve this? We have two options, because we are unfortunately tapping all available surface water, we are tapping all available groundwater, and we have to go for non-conventional water resources. What is the available non-conventional water resources in our region? We have either groundwater, which is non-renewable groundwater. So whatever I use, I will deteriorate the aquifer, and I will already use the existing potential, which I should reserve it for the future generation. So how I can use other alternatives, such as treated wastewater. We are producing a huge amount of treated wastewater, but unfortunately, the sanitary coverage or the wastewater treatment collection and treatment covers is less than 40% in our region. So most of the countries, they don't have enough coverage to cover, to treat, to treat it up to a quality that can be used for agriculture or greening at present. So we need more investment in the future. And our production now, about 40% of it is discharged back to environment, either treated or non-treated. So this is another big challenge for us. So, but we have another challenge regarding the treated wastewater used for agriculture production or to improve. That still also is using energy, and it have a carbon footprint, and also it is limited. Whatever the production, whatever even discharge to the environment, but it's limited, and it's always linked to the per capita consumption in the domestic water use, and the return back to the sewer system, and also the number of population in our region. So it's always limited. The other, which is sometimes they call it infinite resources, is the desalination. Infinite seawater resources, we can determine some way for generating electricity to use it. But is this the reality? Is this the fact that we can, in future, consider the desalinated water as infinite resources? Globally, at present, we have more than 15,000 desalination plants, produced about 95 million cubic meter a day. So the total production of the desalinated globally today, we are speaking about 13-14 billion. Only 13-14 billion. However, our region contributes by about 53%. So we are producing 50% of the global desalination in our region. But what will be the environmental impacts and the carbon footprints for the desalination? And is it really, this is a good source that I can use it either now or on the short future or on the long future for agriculture? Let us see the facts. We have two global desalination systems, either through thermal desalination or reverse osmosis, membrane-based osmosis system. For the reverse osmosis system, which is now the global trend is going to increase it, the global production is about 60%. And the other 2 or 3 technologies like thermal, MSDF, MAD is contributing by about 30-35%. But it is a sophisticated system. The capital cost is very high. $1,600 or up to $2,000 per cubic meter in terms of capital cost. And the operational cost per cubic meter will be jump from $1 up to $2. It depends on the existence of the desalination plants and this. And for each cubic meter, we are emitting 2.727 kilogram equivalent of CO2. So there's a very severe impact on the environment and the greenhouse and also the climate change. So the global trend is to go to the reverse osmosis. Why reverse osmosis? Because it's more efficient. The efficiency is more than 60%. The energy consumption is far less because we can consume between 3 to 5 kilowatt per cubic meter. The capital cost is less because we are going to speak about 1,200 to 1,000 in average. Sometimes even in Egypt now we reach something about $900 per cubic meter in terms of capital cost, and also the operational cost and the environmental impacts will be less. The environmental impact will be less because I will not need the chemical additives which is used in thermal like anti-scalant and anti-foaming. I will use also only one chemical material which is anti-biofouling, which is far less in terms of the impact on the environment. But still, I have to balance between the negative impacts and the climate change impacts and the impacts on the climate change and the green gas and the demand. I have to balance between these two. How I can balance? By using low carbon technology, by using innovative technology to minimize the carbon emission, to minimize the cost, to improve the recovery ratio, to improve the construction, to minimize or to adopt or prepare the local communities to produce some of materials or components through the supply chain of desalination. We can produce some of the materials or crops in our region. We should not depend on the importing of all equipments or all components of the desalination from abroad, from outside the region. We can improve it. And meanwhile, we can use, is this technology or emerging technology exist? We can yes say or can no. Because we cannot always depend on the thermal and RO because we reach what we call the threshold of improvement. It becomes now fully matured system that the improvement or the room for improvement in the future will be very small. We have a very small room to improve these two matured technologies. So we have to use new innovative technology. And in new innovative technology, we have emerging technologies or list of emerging technologies that we can work. But unfortunately, we don't have the R&D capacity. We don't have research and development capacity that allow us to improve and to share globally, to share the others, to improve this. And manufacture it, we have also this. But we can improve. What is this emerging? We have many. I have a lot. I can send you a list with something like 17 emerging technologies. They are working on R&D on it. But we are speaking about two things. The first one is to minimize the energy consumption, which will impact on the carbon emission, like membrane distilled. But unfortunately, also, if we need to recover, to improve the recovery ratio, we should go to what we call the zero-level discharge technology. But unfortunately, it will increase the energy demand from 3 to 5 to 12 or 15 kilowatt per cubic hour. Yes, it will improve the recovery to 90% between two brackets theoretically, but it will also increase the energy consumption and increase the carbon footprint again. So we can use solar power desalination, yes, but also the land footprint, the efficiency is 27%, and the capital cost is high. This will impact the cost of the desalinated water. So how I can use the desalinated water in the future to improve the agriculture production is by using innovative technology to reduce and linking the desalinated water or treated wastewater to very high system in terms of water productivity. I should improve the water productivity in the future through technologies that I can produce more by less water. And this is including the desalination. This is a system which we implemented in the United Arab Emirates to have a self-sustained system to produce food through desalination or solar power desalination and solar powered greenhouses and hydroponic system. And also we have a system even to utilize the brine water produced from this system to use it for aquaculture and for salt-tolerant species or plantations that we can use it for fooders, or we can use it for food production. And this is another way to manage and play with this technology. As I mentioned before, the problem is not always the energy consumption at the desalination units at its level, but what before and what's after. Before I need pumping to desalination, so I will use energy. After, I need to distribute, to transmit this water, and to use it in farms. So this will add additional cost and additional energy consumption. So I have to also improve what is before and what is after to improve the situation. And in conclusion, the best way to improve the alternative and the non-conventional water resource, to improve the water food energy nexus, while we are planning the smart climate communities, is to improve the water productivity. What do you mean by water productivity? How much money I gain from each cubic meter? This is the question. Could I use $2 cubic meter of desalination to produce 0.01 kilograms of tomato? While the 1 kilograms is producing, 1 ton of water can produce 7 to 8 kilograms. So the return value will be $0.7, while I'm using $2. So one of the more important issues in the future is to use research and technology to improve the water productivity. Globally, the highest water productivity exists in Spain, in Australia, and it's about $2. So we need in the future to improve this and to improve to interlink. To conclude, they're showing one of the projects, by the way, in United Arab Emirates to supply all the farmers with desalinated water. And the cost is $36 billion. $36 billion for irrigating 13,000 of farms. What will be the production? What will be the benefit? What will be the environmental impact, the climate change impact? So to conclude, if I need to work in the future, I need to work on 4 pillars or 5 pillars. The first one is to improve the research and development to find a way for minimizing the carbon footprint of the non-conventional water resources used and to improve its efficiency and its cost. The second is to interlink between this use of this water and the new innovative technology in the agriculture production. Hydroponics, aeroponics, greenhouses, shade houses, whatever. We can find a lot of smart agriculture system, good agriculture practices, whatever. We have to interlink. The second is to select probably the crops. And we should focus at the beginning on the cash crops, not on the traditional cereals, not irrigating banana or sugar cane or sugar beet with desalinated water. And the third is to find a market where I will market this product. And is this market affordable for the end users? Is this affordable? And the third one is to concentrate on the low brackish water and improve the salt tolerant and drought tolerant species in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dawood, to give actually a financial component to kind of the pressures we are going to face for climate resilience, and where we have to kind of balance kind of the needs with the needs for investment, but also the needs to pay the bills and to kind of make sure that people have food and water. So thank you very much for that. And I mean, I hear there's R&D noted, there's education noted. Maybe we kind of have an interesting discussion on that one in a minute. May I invite Dr. Amr Zabahi as a speaker. He's the Director of Agriculture for SECAM, and I'm sure he can also give a good insight on the food.
Good morning. Today I'll speak with you about SECAM initiative. SECAM initiative started in 1977 by Dr. Ibrahim Abouleish. Our mission to spirit organic and biodynamic agriculture and also building sustainable communities. We started to build our community in Bilbais in 1977. And now I think we achieved this community. And it included all facilities or life aspects from agriculture, industry, healthcare, education, all issues, you can find it in this community. Actually, when we're speaking about sustainability, we have to concentrate in 4 pillars. Environmental pillar, culture, social, and the economy. And under these 4 pillars, SECAM put their goals. Sorry. And now we can see the goals which SECAM put under these pillars. We put 16 goals for SECAM. We call that SECAM's vision goals. And I think these 16 vision goals cover all issues which you need to build sustainable community. From 4 years, we started also to build the second community in الواحات البحرية, an oasis in desert. And life in desert not easy, like Nile Valley and close to Nile. But I think we achieved some success there, and now I selected some best practice from our farm in El Wahat to see it together. Regarding to sustainable water management, we have, in El Wahat, the temperature is too high there, and in El Wahat we use solar panel for producing energy and the pumping water. So we have to think about irrigation at night, because irrigation at daytime, the temperature is too high and the evaporation is also is too high and the losses of water is too high. So we're thinking about using the geography which is surrounded our farm. So building a reservoir up the mountain, and we pumping water during the day to this mountain, and during the night we can use it by gravity to irrigate our farm. And also we use high technology for water monitoring to decrease the amount of water which we use. And we have a unique also trial in El Wahat by using drainage water, agriculture drainage water. As you know, in El Wahat, in El Bahariya Oasis, there is a bland layer. So there is a big problem with agriculture drainage water. So inside our farm, we started to collect this drainage water, and we mixed it with the water, fresh water, which is coming from underground, and we grow some crops which has a tolerance to salinity, like prickly pear, like jojoba, and we produced a very high productivity from these crops. For example, prickly pear, we produce oil, jam, juice, and also we use leaves for feeding animal. By the way, also we treat all water which is coming from our communities here, because in El Wahat we started also there guest house, and we started school in El Wahat. We have until grade 7 in El Wahat now in El Bahariya, and also we have houses for our labor. So we collect this water, gray water, and we treated it and we use it for irrigating wood trees. Also thinking about new technology for irrigation, like subsurface irrigation, which also it save about 30% from water requirement for different crops. We use it with palm trees and jojoba also. If we're thinking also about saving water, you have to start from thinking about the soil, because you will irrigate the soil. So you have to increase soil fertility, you have to increase water holding capacity for the soil. So there is different methods to increase soil holding, water holding capacity for soil by adding compost. We established there compost site to collect all residues which coming from the farm and mixing it with cow manure to make a compost. And this compost increase water holding capacity and increase also cation exchange capacity, which also saves some fertilizer which we add. We use in our farm also we use agroforestry growing methods by growing trees and crops together to, as you know, agroforestry reduce wind speed and by the way decrease evapotranspiration for plants and also helps in climate change mitigation. Carbon sequestration, we have a big story with carbon sequestration in SECAM because from 3 years or more, we started to certify our farms with a company, I think, Gold Standard from outside. And we found application and a lot of paper to certify this, our farm. And after we certified it, they give us carbon certificate to sell it in stock. But we found this process, it's very, very difficult for Egyptian farmers because it's very simple farmers and they can't do all this process. So Mr. Hilm Abu Al-Aish thinking about established the first carbon footprint center in Egypt, in Jamiat Heliopolis. And he succeeded to finish this, and now we have carbon footprint center to issue these carbon certificates. And by the way, we distributed the money which coming from selling these carbon certificates. The carbon certificates, it's a very simple issue. We started to certify all farms which working with SECAM, and we enhance these farms to grow trees, to using renewable energy, to making compost, to working as organic farms. So it's very easy to calculate the carbon sequestration for each farm, and we issue this certificate, and also we are responsible for selling this certificate. We can sell it for growers and give them its money. This also, this figure declare our contribution to climate mitigation and adaptation. As you know, or from a standard, you can see one tree, it can absorb or can sequestrate 33 kilogram carbon. 1 ton of compost can avoid emission of 600 kilogram carbon. If you're growing your farm as an organic or biodynamic, you can also sequestrate 1.6 ton carbon. This also, of course, depending on the analysis before and after. And also, if you're using solar panel, you can avoid emission of 0.35 ton carbon per year. In El Wahat, we have there 2,000 kilowatt renewable energy. We use it for pumping water and lighting houses. And also in El Wahat, we have a big project to grow 1 million trees to surround our farms and also to sequestrate more carbon, and you can sell this certificate in stock, of course. Of course, we haven't to forget the social life and our surrounded community. In SECAM, we established their school to serve our workers and our surrounded community. Also, we started clinic in El Wahat also to serve surrounded community. We have good guest house. And we started to make like a conferences with our surrounded community to study the problems which face these communities. We found a big problem there. There is a huge amount of palm trees residues, palm trees leaves residues. So we started to think about this, and we found the technology to solve this problem. And we started to establish a factory for palm beet, which is coming from palm trees leaves. Social and cultural life, we have a very fantastic theater there. Also, we make a gathering twice monthly for our surrounded community and our labor, and share together problems and how we can solve it. And there is some performance from different communities also to enhance and encourage this community to working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Amre. I really like that you kind of been drawing kind of the attention, besides the water we kind of talked about and the scarcity of water and the need for water, also to the quality of the soil, because for the agriculture you will need both. And for the rest, it's very inspiring to see that kind of sustainability is in action in your farm. I would like to invite the audience, if there are any questions to any of the panelists, to raise your hands, and hopefully we have some microphones that can be distributed. That would be awesome. Otherwise, I have to invite you to come up here, but I know microphones are coming. Once it's there, microphone here, please. If you would be so kind to mention your name and your affiliation, and then ask the question to the panelists. Here, please.
Karim Atiyah from the National Research Center in Egypt. My question to Professor Dawood, and also if any of the panel can comment in the same question. My question, how do you see the role of the international organization in the desalination for agriculture, how they can transfer technology, work also in the zero discharge efficiency, and also capacity building and so on. And my second question, how we can link the success story all over the world in order to get the benefit for the development country, how they enhance this, because all the country, especially the Arab country, they have a very crucial deficiency in the water resources, the supply against the demand. So how we can use the international success story in this issue to bring together to make benefit for all the globe. Thank you.
You should be able to speak.
Regarding your first question, Dr. Karima, and the role of international organization and the donors, they can help us by finding a fund and supporting the pilot projects, demonstrations, and also the research and development. For instance, at present, we have some fund in Egypt by the Japanese government to enhance the water productivity in small farm holders in Kafr al-Sheikh, al-Mini, and the Qin and Siri governorates. We have some Dutch financial support for doing the same, for improving or applying the good agriculture practices in Egypt. So the international donors can support us by finding funds and starting a pilot project to demonstrate to the small-scale farmers or to the end users how I can implement such a technology, either the demand-side technology or the supply-side technology, or even to support the country policy and strategy, to develop a country policy and strategy to use such a technology. In terms of the desalinated water use and the global experience at present, the total desalinated water used in agriculture globally at present is only 3% out of the total agriculture water. So we are still early. And the experience available at present is very minimal countries that they are using, including Australia, for instance. It's called Sundrop. You can find it on Google. In Spain, in Morocco, in United Arab Emirates, in Saudi Arabia, they did start. And still the issue of using desalination is you're not using the desalination. It is the water productivity, as I mentioned. How much I will get a revenue from this? For instance, in Morocco, they are using about 90 million cubic meter a year to produce blackberry, cherry, and they are producing about 50,000 tons, all in all. Exported directly to Europe, to Spain and France and some countries. The same in Australia, they are using this Sundrop project to produce tomato for West Australia, which is used for canning soups and something like that. So it depends on, but we are working now, I am working as a consultant for FAO at present to prepare or to publish a book and a report about the future of using desalination in agriculture. And I can share it with you when it's published.
Thank you very much. Any more questions in the... Oh, here we go. Perfect. Thank you. Go for it.
Thank you very much. I believe the question that the lady asked is very, very important, and that is how the developing world can manage the bridge. Our take is that the conventional financing methods that we are deploying are out of affordability reach for the developing world. We have to look into how the financial system can be changed to make financing for these projects more affordable. We cannot, in Africa at least, go on conventional borrowing. Even soft borrowing is too expensive for us because of foreign exchange risks that are always added to us. So the big question is, how do we better finance, cheaper finance? The second point, and I think I slightly disagree with the professor here, the question is not how much dollar do we make out of each cubic meter. The question must be, how many people do we reach with 1 cubic meter? It is a people-centered matter, not a money-centered matter. And I think that the two of them together should be providing us an answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions in the room? Maybe? No? If not, then I'm going to ask a question. I don't want to kind of take away the chance for you to answer. I would be interested to know from Professor Nacken. I mean, you presented the virtual reality kind of approach and then kind of showing kind of how that can help to educate students. But if we educate students, are we then fast enough to kind of work on and kind of get the changes needed on track until they are reaching a position where they can take decisions?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving this specific question. The showcase I could show you was given from students, because we're a university and our clients are students. But the same technology can be used for everyone. It could be used in a national training center, it can be used in a governmental area, it can be used in any kind of industry. So that doesn't make any difference at all. The only thing is we are just using and addressing it for students. But I do personally think that this technique is there, it's affordable, you can use it, so try it out and find out. It's not a solution to do everything, but There are options that you should for sure use in every type of education and in every type of training. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Still no further questions? Then I would like to ask a question to Dr. Rania. I wonder if you kind of hearing, we kind of had most of the patients centered around desalination and agriculture. Do you feel left out with kind of focusing on urban resilience? How do you see that link and how do we make that work?
Especially in the Arab region, this is very important because of the water scarcity issue.
I think you have to speak a little bit closer.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I think this is a very important issue, and especially in the Arab region, because of water scarcity issue. So desalination is one of the topics that is on the top agenda. I know in Egypt, for example, national agenda, and in many of other Arab countries, it could provide an excellent solution, as I said, especially with regards to the countries that face the water scarcity, and it's global. It's a global issue, not only in the Arab region. So,
yeah. Thank you very much. Still looking? Still no questions? You're all looking for the buffet, huh? Then I would like to ask a question to Dr. Amr. I mean, seeing your concept and how it works for SECAM to farm sustainability, do you think there's potential to upscale that, to kind of have that in a wider range of areas and settings? Because, I mean, it sounds great, but is it applicable for everything?
Yes. I think also SECAM has a great experience to upscale their trial for sustainability. We started now, we are working now with more than 18,000 smallholder farmers. And we have a goal to spread our trial or our idea to 40,000 growers by 2027. And working in this project through Egyptian Biodynamic Association. And we have a big team to supervise and to spread this idea and to support these growers. And we started to make some issues to help these growers to convert from conventional and to organic to be more sustainable, or to also to enhance climate change mitigation by giving this growers some facilities like microcredit for renewable energy, microcredit for making compost, for animal husbandry, for growing trees. So all these facilities encourage growers to join us in these initiatives. Also, when we started to issue carbon credit certificates, it also support this growth and encourage them to convert from conventional to organic, and also from conventional way and sustainable way for growing.
Thank you very much. Then I would like to close with a question to all, really. Yeah, we heard kind of the needs, the requirements, the challenges we face, the kind of somewhat scary outlook, kind of what could come in the future. So my question to everybody is, how do we make that change happen? How do we kind of set the next step in motion in a kind of concerted and integrated way to make sure that we can meet the challenges? And any personal recommendation we will, and the audience I'm sure would like to hear. So whoever would pick it up, feel free. Yeah, Dr. Rania.
I can answer partially to the question, and planning is very important. Integrating these issues into the planning of our cities and urban context is key, because you enable the function later on of the cities to be resilient and to take into consideration elements that relate to building more resilience to the negative impacts of climate change. So the more we think and the more we are aware of how important to think about these elements and issues and integrate them into urban planning from the onset, and also in managing our urban context and our cities, the better it is, and the better opportunity that it gives us as and gives the city leaders to ensure the building of more resilient communities and cities in the future.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Louis.
In addition to what has been mentioned by Dr. Rania, which is the planning, I think we need to improve our research and development capacity and to interlink the research and development sectors with the end users, with the farmers, because we have a gap in this issue. We don't able to transfer the knowledge on the research level, including research centers, universities, to the end users. And recently we started a pilot project in Egypt to have what we call it farm schools or farm schools, that we try to educate the farmers how they can use innovative technology in irrigation, agro-voltaic, and using solar pumps and these things. This will minimize the gap between what we are reaching on a pilot scale or demonstration scale in the research centers and the research laboratories and the end users' knowledge.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, your question, if I had the answer, we would have been not in this hall. but it remains relevant. I believe, first of all, conferences like this are very helpful, where we come all together and we share ideas and how we map out the future. What still needs to be eroded is skewness in ability, whether it is financial ability, whether it is capacity ability, whether it is any other skewness that brings about a possibility that there is someone who is using more than his or her fair share. So skewness must be eroded. We heard about technology that plays an incredible important role, but we must not forget that behind technology are intellectual property rights. If we do not all have access to these intellectual property rights, we will not have a combined ability to solve this existential problem. So I think we must start to talk about intellectual property, how they are shared, how they are made accessible to the broader world, so that we can solve our problems. And then the last one is, of course, what I've said already. The financial system is very, very skewed. It gives those that have a lot of it better chances to solve the problem, and those that have no large and deep pockets will remain in a difficult situation, and we will not be able to solve. But water remains a scarce commodity. We must not forget that sanitation is linked to water, and that they are actually basic human rights, which everyone has, therefore, a legitimate expectation to be served. And that is the point. We must lift water and sanitation in the climate change agenda so that it takes its legitimate place as the most affected sector due to climate change. While we do not forget that general development, because of population growth and other things, is equally needed to remain in a stable situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Nacken?
From my side, I think it's pretty easy. Change starts in your head. And with that, education and training is going to come. And with that, solutions are going to be found. That's easy.
I think I would like to kind of finish on that note. It's easy. Let's make it happen. I would like a big applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for kind of contributing your time. Thank you for all attendees, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.